Picture a girl, awakened by her grandmother's terrified screams, a scene that would forever change the lives of many. On a dark night in June 1998, this unfortunate event unfolded. A young girl staying at her grandmother's house was startled awake by a horrifying commotion. She rushed to the kitchen only to stumble upon a dreadful sight, her grandmother in a struggle with an unknown man. Fearing for her life, she ran back to her room, but the man followed her. In a horrific turn of events, she was sexually assaulted. The next morning she awoke to an even more gruesome scene. Her grandmother was dead. Traumatized and scared, she sought help from a neighbor who promptly called the police. It was then that she made a chilling statement, one that would steer the course of the investigation. She claimed the attacker resembled her uncle, Clarence Elkins. A chilling revelation made by a young girl, setting the stage for a tragic misjudgment. In the courtroom, a man fights for his innocence, armed with nothing but an alibi. The trial of Clarence Elkins was a convoluted affair, where the scales of justice seemed to tilt towards the emotional rather than the empirical. Despite the absence of physical evidence linking Elkins to the heinous crime, the prosecution forged ahead. Mitochondrial DNA testing conducted on hairs found at the crime scene pointed away from Elkins, excluding him as a possible contributor. Yet the testimony of his young niece, who had identified him as the attacker, held a profound sway over the proceedings. Her words, uttered from a place of trauma and confusion, cast a long shadow on Elkins's defense. His alibi of being at local bars until late and then going for a walk with his wife seemed to fall on deaf ears. Despite the lack of physical evidence, Clarence Elkins was sentenced to life in prison, a horrifying outcome for an innocent man. In the depths of despair, a wife's unwavering belief in her husband's innocence sparks a tireless pursuit for justice. Melinda Elkins, despite the tragic loss of her mother and her niece's trauma, was steadfast in her conviction that her husband, Clarence, was innocent. She embarked on a relentless campaign to free him, a journey that would span several years and test her resolve in unimaginable ways. Her first ray of hope came in 2002, when the niece, now an adult, recanted her testimony. She admitted that her identification of Elkins as the perpetrator was mistaken. This significant development, however, wasn't enough to sway the courts. Elkins made a formal request for DNA testing that year, hoping that modern science could provide the proof of his innocence. But the request was denied, the courts arguing that the results would not definitively prove his innocence. Undeterred, Elkins managed to secure his own funding for a different kind of DNA testing. YSTR testing, a relatively new technique at the time, isolates certain characteristics of the male chromosome, making it suitable for comparison. The results of this testing, conducted in 2004, excluded Elkins as the possible perpetrator. Finally, it seemed there was scientific proof of his innocence, but the fight was far from over. In a shocking twist, the court denied Elkins's motion for a new trial in July 2005, despite the conclusive DNA evidence. Elkins, it seemed, was trapped in a system that was slow to acknowledge its own mistakes. Despite the mounting evidence of his innocence, Elkins remained a prisoner, a testament to the flaws in the system. The fight for justice was far from over, but the tide was beginning to turn. The truth, as they say, has a way of making itself known, and in the case of Clarence Elkins, it would prove to be his ultimate weapon. In the end, it's a discarded cigarette butt that ignites the flame of justice. The year was 2005, and Melinda Elkins Dawson, Clarence's steadfast wife, had been tirelessly working to prove her husband's innocence. A new lead emerged, a convicted rapist who lived near the victim's house at the time of the crime. As fate would have it, this man was transferred to Elkins's cell block. Clarence spotted an opportunity and seized it, collecting a discarded cigarette butt from this potential suspect. This seemingly insignificant piece of trash was mailed to Melinda, who had it tested. The results were staggering. The DNA from this cigarette butt matched the male profile found on the evidence from the crime scene. Armed with this new evidence, Elkins's lawyers once again petitioned the state to vacate his charges. Finally, the prosecutors agreed. They filed a motion to vacate Elkins's sentence. On December 15, 2005, Clarence Elkins walked out of prison a free man after 6.5 years of wrongful incarceration. Clarence Elkins's story is not just a tale of personal tragedy and triumph, but a stark reminder of the fallibility of our justice system. His case illuminates the urgency for reforms, advocating for the cautious use of eyewitness testimonies and the crucial role of DNA evidence in criminal investigations. It's a potent appeal for greater vigilance to prevent innocent lives from being ensnared in the web of unjust convictions. As we reflect on Elkins's harrowing journey, we're reminded of the power of truth, the strength of conviction, and the urgent need for justice reform.